Returning to the single clamshell design, you can see on this 1900s German Imperial smallsword, or rather court sword, this design has a blade similar to the failed and, as we all know, terrible 1796 British infantry officer's spadroon. It has a flat spine, a single edge, and in this case, a not too terrible point, unlike the British variant. However, this was a state official's sword rather than an infantry officer's sword, thus it was not exactly expected to be used. It's quite ornate, so why don't we take it closer to the camera and have a good look at it. As you can see, the entire hilt is made of brass and gilt. The handle scales are mother of pearl, with some small scratches. The pommel is in the form of a bird's head. Given it is from Imperial Germany, it is easy to surmise that this is an eagle. Continuing that theme, we see the eagle of Kaiser Wilhelm on the front of the clamshell guard, and we can even see a nice detailed acorn here on the quillon. The blade has a single fuller, which you can see here, and was once etched, however most of this has worn away over successive minor polishes and cleaning. At the base, the blade is about 4.5mm wide, and it tapers down to a very fine spine. The point is actually somewhat pointed, unlike the earlier spadroon. However, the entire thing is not exactly intended for battle. You can see here the original sword knot that came on it, which is made of gold braid and has some black and red thread woven in near the knot. Even here, on the covering over the tang, you can see that this is gilt bronze with significant details. This is definitely what is known as a court sword rather than a small sword. However, it is worth looking at for the similar blade shape to the 1796, which I do not have. Having spoken about the features of this German model of 1900 state official sword, and its similarities to the 1796 British infantry officer's spadroon, let's compare it to this more standard court sword that we've discussed earlier. As you can see, the blades are of a different shape, this having the distinctive triple-fullered triangular cross-section blade, which confers very good stiffness and very good thrusting capabilities, and this, which is an extremely compromised cut and thrust design, which can obviously do very little to cut, but is still fairly good at thrusting. However, this blade is about 3 times as flexible as this blade. Considering that small swords are in form factor very light anyway, you'd wonder why this sort of blade was ever used, considering that most of what you do with one is thrusting rather than cutting. And that's probably due to the fact that this design came out of a war office. And, of course, military officers were more used to this style of blade on their infantry and cavalry swords, and it was seen as less civilian than this sort of blade. And that sort of theme continued throughout history, with most spadroons, by definition, having blades like these, rather than small sword blades like these, which are arguably more usable so long as you commit yourself to the thrust. It's not until the end of the 19th century that we see nations recognizing that the thrust is arguably a more effective way to fight than a cut and thrust compromise, which led to swords like the 1882 and the 1897 in France and Britain respectively. This has been iPer Swords talking about a German model of 1900 state official spadroon, and this has been day 3 of our A Week of Small Swords series. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to my channel and consider leaving a comment with any questions in the comment section below. That's all for today. Until next time, stay sharp.